प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं.
So, asaktir anavishvanga. Asakti means not having the sakti. Anavishvanga means not having the avishvanga. This sakti is the constantly thinking. We develop an clinging to it. And abhishvanga is we identify ourselves with that. Suppose we have identified so much with my camera that if the camera is broken, I feel I have been broken. It happens. The building, I become the building. One person was there, there was a small work done on the garden, and one visitor came and he just kicked over today Bunty kicked a flower pot. Suppose like that, kicked the flower pot and fell. Now Seema will be immediately looking at the flower pot, my plant is gone, my flower pot is broken. Whether Bunty's leg is broken, she will not worry about. That is called avishvanga. They're constantly looking after the plants and the flower pots. She will grow so much of avishvanga to that if that is broken, what has happened? One pot broken, nothing has happened. You should first notice whether Bunty's leg has broken or not, or whether he has got injured or not. So this is asakti means, suppose I generally give an example that suppose you are reading some book where the tragic story is there, or you are seeing a film, it's a tragic film like Pathar Pachalli and all those, there are many like that, Oliver Twist or anything. So there, when the pathos are depicted, either in the story or in the film, the pathos are depicted, you shed profuse tears, is it not so? We respond to the dukkha there. So we are dukkhi at that time. We are shedding tears. But still we see and we enjoy. The dukkha we are enjoying, is it not so? If you don't enjoy, then why should you go by paying money, going to the film or buying the book? You will not. So although it is a dukkha, you are enjoying. This is a great example for us to know that dukkha is also enjoyable. But the same thing, what we are enjoying in the film or in the book, if it happens in your family, then you start shouting, oh Lord, why to me? Wailing and crying. Is it not? So the same thing, there is nothing wrong in the happening. It is a dukkha, suffering. But when it is for others, you are enjoying the suffering. Not that you are happy with the suffering, but you are really enjoying it. You are enriched by the suffering, let us say. We are enriched by the suffering there. But when it happens in our case, in our own family, we are not getting that enrichment. We are becoming slave to the situation and we are losing our self-seatedness there. That is why we are wailing. We are not shedding just the dukkha tears like that. We are crying and wailing. This is where the Sakti is coming. It is the same dukkha. If it is not in my family, I am able to know the dukkha in its own pristine form. When it is in my family, then the color of me and mine is corrupting the dukkha. The dukkha is getting corrupted actually. It is not the same genuine, the pristine dukkha. But when it is in the others, I don't have the Sakti there. It is the asakti, that is the Sakti not being there, we are able to see the things as they are and we are able to get enriched by that. But if it is in my own case where I had developed a Sakti and Avishvanga, we are not able to get enriched by that. It is degenerating for us. So, Asakta Buddhi means where always his intelligence, our intelligence will help us to get rid of this identity. Get rid of this attachment. Attachment word we have stopped using because it has become a cliche. Nobody thinks about it. Attachment. So actually it is a clinging to our me and mine and what I like, and a hatred or intolerance towards what I dislike. The same thing. Basically it is an ego with its all paraphernalia. That is, I is the ego, but with me that when it is my son doing something wrong also I get hurt. Because it is my son. If the other son does, no problem. Or if there is a scope of saying that no, it has not been done by my son, he is very good, but because of the association with the other boy it has happened. You condemn the other son. Actually maybe it is reverse, we don't know. So, this asakta buddhi is sarvatra. Everywhere we have to practice this asakta buddhi. That means seeing things as they are, knowing things as they are, knowing myself, my personality as I am. The true vision. It will give us the true vision. Jita Atma. This asakta buddhi will not come unless we are Jitatma. As long as we are slave to the sense organs, sense indulgence and all, how can you have this asakta buddhi, true vision? Because your vision will be colored by your attraction, repulsion. You get it? Jitatma is a must for asakta buddhi. Or you can say if the asakta buddhi is generated, you will become Jitatma. That way also it is okay. Vigata spriha. Spriha means again desire, trishna, etc. That means without the desire, knowing that desire is not going to make us fulfill, can we not become intelligent and make the desires redundant, do everything naturally? Because mind you, he is now talking about swakarma. That means you are not doing anything motivated by desire. So he has to be desireless. If we are desireless, then we will be able to take to our swakarma, whatever is natural to us. We will not try to do something which is much beyond our capability and then create problem there. That also we do, no? Often we do. Seeing others doing something, I am not deserving that, but I think that I would have been better doing that, and we try to do that and create problem. नहीं होता है, ऐसा तो बहुत होता है, आश्रम में भी बहुत होता है. So, what happens if you do like that? Naishkarma siddhim paramam. The supreme perfection called Naishkarma Siddhi, Sannyasena Adhigacchati, attained by sannyasa. Now this can be interpreted in both ways. Because given the context and Bhagavad Gita is only speaking about the internal. That is, sannyasa is internal sannyasa. Naishkarma Siddhi also is internal. It has nothing to do with the not doing anything outside. Sannyasa is not the formal outward sannyasa, because neither Arjuna nor Krishna was sannyasin. Is it not? But you can interpret in the outer manner also. Shankaracharya also has done like that. But generally it doesn't fully correspond to Bhagavad Gita. You see 6.1, the 6th chapter, 1st verse. Got it? Anashritah karma phalam. Anashritah karma phalam.
Anashritah karma phalam.
Karyam karma karoti yaha.
Karyam karma karoti yaha.
Sasannyasi cha yogi cha.
Sasannyasi cha yogi cha.
Na niragnir na chakriyah.
Na niragnir na chakriyah.
He says that who is a sannyasin and who is a yogi? That both he is saying it is same. He is sannyasin, he is a yogi. Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. He is a sannyasin and also a yogi. Who? Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha. Karyam karma. That means karya means whatever has to be done. That means whatever comes to us to be done. Karya means to be done. Karma, that action which is to be done, he does. Karoti yaha, he does. In what manner? Anashrita karma phalam. Again, the same thing. That is, karma phala means not the objective result of that, But our ashray is from that objective result, I will become happy. I will gain this, I will gain that, and then I will become happy. That is the karma phala. That is, you should not think that by doing this I will become happy, I will gain this, I will gain that. No personal gain, personal satisfaction or anything. But you are doing because it has to be done. So your focus will be completely on the karma. It is not that the objective result is going to change. It will rather be the most perfect objective result possible in that situation. Because normally your mind will be upset, will it happen, then will I be sacked from the office, or will my family will have this, that and all. Always we are fearful, anxious, doubtful about things, and that hampers our work. In this case, nothing like that. Is it to be done or not? What is the objective result of this? This objective result is good for the society or not? If it is to be done by me, I will do. That's all. So he does anashrita. That means his refuge is not in the karma phala that it will make me rich, it will make me happy, it will make me fulfilled. No. I have understood that nothing from the world is going to make me fulfilled. The fulfillment is right there within me, in the soul itself. The moment we stop looking for something from the world, we become fulfilled. So, sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. He is a sannyasin, one who does like this, that is, who is not taking his refuge in the karma phala. He is a sannyasin. So they are not talking about the outer sannyasa. It is his mind. Na niragnir na chakriyaha. Because generally the sannyasins will not do any yaga jajja. We have the sacred thread and then we have the right to perform the yaga jajja. So we start doing, we develop the adhikara, that is deservingness for doing the yajna. Now before sannyasa you have to do viraja homam, where you even put the sacred thread into fire. That means after sannyasa you don't have any adhikara to do yaga, jajja, puja, anything. A sannyasin is not supposed to do any puja also. So niragnir means a person who has stopped doing the agni hotra or anything. Agni hotra or any yaga, jajna. Generally the sannyasin will stop doing it. He says, no, that is not that is only an outer symbol. If you are a niragni, okay. But if you do something having your refuge in the karma phala, that I will gain from this or that or so and then I will be happy, then you are not a sannyasin. So sannyasa is a completely internal development when you become absolutely independent, free from everything. You don't expect anything from anywhere, from anybody, anytime. I say it in one line very easily, but you have to think about it hours to actualize that. Na cha akriyaha. That is, na niragni, na cha akriyaha. That is, does not do the religious actions of homa and all, agni. And akriya means the other activities also. Because sannyasa will say that I have nothing to do. He will sit in the cave only and keep quiet. So just by renouncing the external activities and external religious as well as non-religious activities. Akriya means non-religious and agni means religious. By renouncing the non-religious and religious activities, you don't become a sannyasin, he is saying clearly. This is the sannyasa of Bhagavad Gita. We have to compare the shlokas and come to know. You see in 5th chapter, 3rd verse. Yeyassa nitya sannyasi
येयस्य नित्यसन्न्यासी
yo nadveshti na kankshati
यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति
nirdvandvo hi mahabaho
निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो
sukham bandhat pramuchyate.
सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते.
He says, Jneyasa nitya sannyasi. Oh Arjuna, know him to be a nitya sannyasi, means always he is a sannyasin. Whatever he does, whether he is fighting a war or not, even he may fight a war, but he is a nitya sannyasi. Who? Yo na dveshti na kankshati. Who doesn't have any desire or hatred. That is, he is not wanting anything for personal gain and he is not intolerant about anything or he is not hating anything. So when Arjuna had to kill Bhishma, it is Parallelly, the other side of the coin is that he cannot have Dvesha Bhava towards Duryodhana. Duryodhana also he has to kill as a necessity. It was a need of the time, not out of enmity towards Duryodhana. Bhima did not have that. Bhima was very much given to enmity and Dvesha Bhava. That is why after defeating him, he stamped his foot on Duryodhana's head. Then Krishna told him that not to do that. He is a king. You should know that, to respect the king. So this is the internal. Similarly, both the verses I have told you. Let us go back to 18th chapter. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spriha
जितात्मा विगतस्पृहः
naishkarmya siddhim paramam
नैष्कर्म्य सिद्धिं परमां
sanyasena adhigacchati.
संन्यासेनाधिगच्छति.
So he says that this supreme perfection called Naishkarmya Siddhi, when there is nothing, no action at all, that is attained by sannyasena, by sannyasa, Tritiya Vibhakti, sannyasena adhigacchati. It is attained by sannyasa. Now what is the sannyasa we have seen in 5th chapter and 6th chapter? If that is the Naishkarmya Siddhi, means that Naishkarmya Siddhi is, he will not feel that I am doing anything. Like a machine that run by the universal Lord, by the universal nature, my body, mind, personality is doing everything. That is the Naishkarmya. Now this Siddhi is the Karmaja Siddhi. Don't forget the link. Why is he saying all this? Swakarma Nirata Siddhi. That is one who is dedicated to his Swakarma, Swabhava Karma. For him, Siddhi comes in this manner. And what is this Siddhi or the perfection? That he does everything as his natural karma, not having ego, not having raga dvesha. So the work becomes easy, as if the guna guneshu vattanta iti matva na sajjate. He doesn't get bound by anything. He doesn't get attached to anything. He doesn't cling to anything. He doesn't hate anything. Whatever comes, he goes on doing. So the doership is getting sublimated there. This Siddhi word, you can connect it to the 45th verse. He said that Swakarma Nirata Siddhim Yatha Vindati Tachunu. I will tell you how the perfection is attained by one who is devoted to his Swakarma. Now he says here, Naishkarma Siddhim Paramam Sannasena Adhigacchati. Once who does Asakta Buddhi Sarvatra Jitatma Vigata Spriha, then he attains this Siddhi. Now this Siddhi is not the ultimate perfection. That is why in the next shloka you find that Siddhim Prapto, let us read that 50th verse. Siddhim Prapto Yatha Brahma
सिद्धिं प्राप्तो यथा ब्रह्म
तथाप्नोति निबोध मे
तथाप्नोति निबोध मे
समासेनैव कौन्तेय
समासेनैव कौन्तेय
निष्ठा ज्ञानस्य या परा
ज्ञानस्य या परा.
So he says that after having this siddhi, how he attains the Brahman, that is the ultimate knowledge of the ultimate truth. Samasena, I will tell you, nibodhame, you come to know, you know from me how a person who has attained this karmaja siddhi by his action, finally how he attains the Brahma Prapti, that how he has the Brahma Prapti, he becomes the Brahman. How it happens, I will tell you. What is that? Samasenaiva kaunteya. That in essence, I will tell you, Nishtha Jnanasya Ya Para. This is the ultimate Jnana Nishtha. That is the exclusive Jnana Nishtha we have said. That is the full Nishtha, means Nisheshana Tishtati. Now Jnana Nishtha means there is nothing other than knowledge at all. What is the knowledge here? The Atma, the Brahman. So for him there is nothing other than Brahman, because everything has become Brahman for him. Is it not? The whole world, including his own personality, mind, everything is but an appearance in the Brahman. So for him it is the Brahman. That is called the Jnana Nishtha. The moment a person slips from that Nishtha, he will remember that he is slipping and he has to get fixed to it. That is called Jnana Nishtha. Our ashram, always Swamiji says that we are given to Jnana Nishtha, not any other Nishtha. So we don't have the austerities. The usual austerities of an ashram, physical austerity, or food austerity, nothing is there now. But we must have the Jnana Nishtha. That is the moment we are slipping for this impersonal attitude of the mind, then we are slipping from our austerity. This is our austerity. So here the link is that from this siddhi, the karmaja siddhi, how one goes over to the ultimate perfection of knowledge, that he will discuss. And then he will say that having that, he attains parabhakti towards me, the supreme devotion towards me. And that supreme devotion, he comes to know what am I in essence. So various stages are there. Then he says that I have told you everything, you do whatever you like. Then he says that no, I will tell you the greatest secret, and says that manmana bhava madbhakta. This is the way Bhagavad Gita proceeds. Now this Naishkarmya Siddhi is another way of looking at it, is that when you are meditating and getting fused into the impersonal soul, that is the Samadhi, impersonal soul, then there is no activity at all. The getting lost in Samadhi, there is no activity. That is also a Naishkarma Siddhi, temporary. Now that is called Atmasthiti. In 6th chapter also you will find how Krishna is taking from Atmasthiti to Brahmasthiti. Here also it is like that. If you consider the Naishkarma Siddhi as Atmasthiti, by sannyasa means, that is also sannyasa. In Samadhi, to get into Samadhi, you have to leave everything. Unless you have left your sense organs, the senses, mind, intelligence, you will not have Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So that is also an internal sannyasa, temporary. So that state we can also explain as an Atma Sthiti or Samadhi Sthiti, where it is sannyasa, it is Naishkarmya also. So it is Atma Sthiti. From there, how one will go to Brahma Sthiti, that is being discussed later on. Brahma Sthiti means to know that that Atma is the substratum of the entire universe. So in Brahma Sthiti, the Atma is not only Nishchala, not only impersonal. That Atma is becoming the entire energy of the universe. The whole play of energy is also in that soul only, also in that consciousness only. So Atma Sthiti is a Nishchala Sthiti, but Brahma Sthiti is with everything. It is a comprehensive Purna Sthiti. It's a Purna. Now we are entering we have already entered some intricate concepts. So yesterday we have given a full summary of how, right from the beginning, how Bhagavad Gita is taking us step by step. We came up to Shloka 49. Now, you have to be attentive, and I have to go back and forth to do justice to that. So you have to be attentive to follow. One thing you should not forget, that in the shloka, 45th shloka, he says, Sve sve karmanyabhirataha samsiddhim labate naraha. That means the samyak siddhi, that means the ultimate perfection, people, the seekers can get by remaining in their own swabhava karma. Sve sve karmani means, before that he has explained, that whatever is natural to their qualities according to their gunatraya, doing that itself they can attain perfection. That is, they don't have to leave all activities and do only meditation, and that will not help, he has told earlier also. Remaining in the activity, changing the attitude, changing the mindset, they will attain the ultimate siddhi, ultimate perfection. Swakarma nirata siddhim yatha bindati tatshinu. This remaining in one's swakarma, remaining engaged in one's natural karma, swabhava karma, swakarma or swadharma, How the perfection is attained, I am going to tell you. That was there. Then the main shloka here we have to understand is Yata pravrittir, the next one. Yata pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tam abhyartya siddhim vindati manavaha. That means the truth, the Atma, Brahman, consciousness, whatever you say, from which the whole nature has originated and which is pervading the whole nature. It cannot be missed anywhere in the objectitude also. Subjectitude, objectitude, nowhere it can be missed. You have to worship that truth with your own karma. Now, Archana is coming. That is, you have to worship that truth with your own karma. The moment Archana is coming, you should understand that there is a bhakti element he is putting in. And what is the ultimate meaning of bhakti? Is it going to the temple or having a shrine at home? What is bhakti really? Surrender. That means, whatever I am doing, I am not doing because of some personal gain or ego satisfaction, that I am doing this, I am going to do this, this is my duty, nothing. People say duty, duty, duty. Bhagavad Gita doesn't speak about duty. That is, when whatever we do, whatever comes to be done and has to be done for the welfare of the society or for anything, as the work comes, if we don't do because of some personal gain, some desire or ego, then it becomes an offering. That here earlier also says that yajñarthat karmano vanyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. In 3rd chapter, that when the work becomes yajna, when we are not doing out of sangha or phalabhoga, that is for becoming happy or the personal gain, or because of ego-related association. When it is done without ego and without phala-kamana, it becomes an offering to it becomes a yajna, the real yajna. So when we work naturally out of our own qualities and whatever is required by the society around, in the nature, whatever the need is, according to that, naturally when we act, not carried away by the desire and ego, then it becomes an offering. That is the archana. That is the yajna. So it is actually becoming a contribution to the universal yajna of the universal Lord. The whole creation is a yajna going on. There is no desire anywhere. Desire is a problem for us only. Everything is naturally doing its own. Even the destruction is a natural process. So many destructions are taking place parallelly, creation, destruction, janma, mrityu, everything is going on. There is no shubha, ashubha, no good, bad, anything. All the things are there. Good is there, bad is parallelly there. Everything is hosted by the truth. So after saying here, he is saying siddhim vindati manavaha. That means swakarmana tam abhyarcha. If we do as an offering to the Lord, whatever we are doing without ego, without desire, then we attain perfection. Perfection, just now they said that sakarmana, how we attain perfection by doing our own, being engaged in our own work.